Hey everyone, James here, and I'm going to review my first video game review for this channel, the first Assassin's Creed game from 2007, and it was developed by Ubisoft, and it's kind of like a sandbox free-roaming game. Just to tell you, I will be doing a review of the whole series with Czar at a later date, and probably a few other people, but essentially since I had to return the game today, because my family wanted to rent a different game for kids and stuff. Essentially, I had to return it back, and I was going to wait until he came back to review it, but we'll probably just buy the game and review it together at that point. But let's get into it. Assassin's Creed is kind of remembered in a strange sense, where I think that the sequels to the game are far more well-liked than the original. The original game kind of is not remembered fondly by a lot of people, and I think a lot of people even kind of feel like the second game is really the start of the whole series, and that the first game is kind of better left forgotten, which is true in a lot of ways, in the sense that the second game is kind of a reboot, in the sense that you really don't need any of the continuity from the first game to understand the second game onward, except for maybe Revelations, which hasn't come out yet, but still, I think you understand what I mean. And really, tonally, and the game is radically different. The game has a completely different tone than the rest of the series, and really the story is completely different, and in many ways, the game, the play itself, is radically different. But let me get into it. Assassin's Creed, in case you haven't played it, essentially you play as Altair, who is kind of the best assassin in an assassin's guild during the Third Crusade's Holy Land, and essentially what they do is they assassinate people who they feel are causing the war to go on. And essentially what you do is you kind of fuck up on a mission, accidentally kill an old man, kill some innocent people, and pretty much fuck up a mission. So essentially you're demoted of your rank, and the game is kind of you assassinating 9 targets that the head of the Assassin's Guild has kind of sent you to kill for him, and basically it's you assassinating these people who are quote-unquote causing horrible things to go on in the Holy Land. And essentially as you, Altair, kill these people, he goes through character arcs and learns what was wrong with himself, but also kind of wrong with the Assassin's Guild in general, and kind of are really what these people doing wrong? Or is there a grand scheme of everything that's going on involving the Assassin's Guild that he's not aware of? Overall, the plot or main story to Assassin's Creed is pretty good, actually. The idea of you kind of morally analyzing something in a video game and kind of you deciding for yourself whether or not what the main character is doing is right or wrong, what the assassins is doing is right or wrong, and what their arch enemies, the Templars, is doing right and wrong, is really interesting. The problem is, while the story is good, the game doesn't really have interesting characters. Altair kind of always comes off as a two-dimensional character to me. You don't really know Altair. There are essentially 2 Altairs. There's the Altair in the beginning, who is a prick who likes to murder old men and basically use loopholes in his guild's code to get away with anything. And then there's the Altair in the second half, who basically just feels guilty all the time and it spends most of the time trying to re-examine things and is always questioning things and apologizing for being a prick in the beginning. The problem is, and in my opinion, I've always said that a good story or a good anything in media isn't really about the story, it's about the characters and how the story affects those characters. And the thing is, Altair isn't really an interesting character. And there really aren't too many other main characters besides Altair. There's the guy you work for and the main villain, but the main villain has, while he does have depth in terms of his philosophy, you never really learn why he feels this way, and you never really even feel why Altair feels the way he does, or even why your leader guy feels the way he does. I mean, you do at the end of the game, but it still, you could have been explored more, and I would have liked the relationship between Altair and the leader of the Assassin's Guild to be explored more. So overall, while the story is good, I kind of feel like it could have been explored a lot more. I kind of feel like towards the game, it almost feels like it's the second part. Like, we just missed the first part, which is Altair as this master assassin, and kind of his life beforehand, and choosing to become an assassin. And then the second half of the game is him kind of realizing what's wrong with the Assassin's Order, but what he should make of it. Gameplay-wise, this game is, once again, kind of schizophrenic. There's a lot of good and a lot of bad, just like the story. Gameplay-wise, there are essentially two sections. There's you kind of roaming around the city, finding information about the certain target you wish to assassinate, and then the actual assassination. Now, the actual assassination is shit tons of fun. It usually has a great intro and cinematic view of the kind of target talking to the people as a whole, or essentially doing something crazy. And then you kind of finding a way to assassinate them, killing through a bunch of guards and escaping. Now, the assassination parts are a lot of fun. They're kind of the same thing 9 times in a row, but they're a lot of fun. However, the parts to get the assassinations, which is just essentially you have to do at least 3 mini-games and then go perform the assassinations, are fucking repetitive. They're the same shit over and over again. And they weren't fun the first time, so I'm not going to be fun the 7th or 8th time. The 7th time I've had to fucking collect flags for some guy wasn't fun the first time. I mean, I don't want to collect flags for the same guy over and over again. Which is weird because it's almost hard for me to describe this game even as a free-roaming game, because you essentially just go to the city, do the 3 tasks, and then just kind of go into the assassination. You can't really do a lot of shit in the city. I mean, there's like one thing you can do, which is save civilians from guards harassing them, but really there's no point in doing that. And then there's like waypoints, which is essentially you climb to a really high place, and then hit a button, and then essentially you'll see over, and then you'll get more of the map, which, once again, is kind of pointless. Which is interesting when compared to the later games in the series, which overload you with the amount of things you can do in the cities, especially Brotherhood, where you can essentially buy the entire city. And I feel like a game that has such stunning environments and tries to put you back in time so much, it doesn't really put you back in time. It kind of just sends you to this other place, and essentially you can only do so much, and I really feel restricted a lot playing this game. However, with the few things that you are allowed to do are a lot of fun. Despite the uselessness of saving civilians is still a lot of fun. For a while. The problem is this game kind of just has you do the same thing over and over again, and kind of assumes that its good plot will save you. But its good plot has shitty characters, so it really doesn't save this game. There's another part of this game, which is the whole part I'm not really going to reveal, but I almost kind of feel like that part, which is the kind of science fiction part of the game, really could have been cut out, which is the stuff involving Desmond and kind of him being kidnapped and strapped to a machine and you playing through. I feel like that all could have been cut out, like, in general, or could have been handled in cutscenes, and I really don't feel like gameplay-wise that was important, because there's nothing in it gameplay-wise that needed to be done in gameplay. It could have been all been done in cutscenes. And while I'm not usually going to say, I'm going to go to a part 2 right now.